Here you go, bro.
What up? Welcome to another edition of 22MW. My name's Tony. I'm coming to you from EBK Studios. Today I'm joined by my brother Kurtis. Kurtis, so they put E.T. the Extraterrestrial on Netflix. Should I watch it for the first time?
Be the second time. Well, actually, it'd be way more than that because.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's get into our top 22. What do you got?
Top 22.
My top 22 is I traveled this week, and I may bring that up later. And I really wanted to watch one of the movies we're going to talk about, and I'll probably talk about that later too. And I could not get that play on thing to work, so I didn't have a chance to stream it. I had a couple movies downloaded that I was able to watch though, and it was my favorite movie from 2014, which was Whiplash, my favorite movie from 2015, which was Creed. And I got to say, I have fantastic taste in movies. These movies are so good. I mean, we talked about Whiplash twice, so I'm not going to repeat why these movies are so great. You could go back and find those episodes.
So you're your own top 22?
No, those movies are my top 22.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, you know, when I picked those two movies as my favorite two of the last 2 years, I just got to, like, pat myself on the back after watching them again and being like, good call.
Okay, right on. All right, my top 22 this week is a podcast. It's episode 323 of the Adam and Dr. Drew Show. Everyone knows I'm a big Adam Carolla fan. And they had the guest, Theo Vaughn, who I don't think is particularly funny, but I've noticed he's making these rounds promoting his Netflix stand-up special, that he's funny around super funny people. And he is so funny on this episode. They do some of the best improv I've heard in a long time. So I would recommend you checking out episode 323 of the Adam and Dr. Drew Show. All right, so first we're going to get into Kurtis's weekly segment, I guess. Kurtis picked all the movies this week, and Kurtis has got this new weekly segment where he picks a movie about adults being mean to kids. This one's from 2014, a documentary directed by Robert May. It's called Kids for Cash. So this movie like kicks off, and like the first thing they do is they talk about zero tolerance, and they get into it a little bit later, but like Adam Carolla always says, like, zero tolerance just means like shut your brain off. We're just complete idiots. Like, yeah. So I laughed about that. This movie's kind of crazy. I want Kurtis to tell kind of the backstory, the premise of what's going on here.
I think most people know this story. It was big news, and I before seeing it, I didn't actually look what it was about, but I was pretty sure what it was about. It was about that. I mean, they show a lot of clips, and you know the media love to refer to it as "Kids for Cash," which they get into how accurate that is in the movie, which we'll come back to. But it's about these judges, one more maybe than the other, but they were involved in getting this juvenile detention center built. They got some money from it, and then they sent one guy sent a ton of kids to go there for some less.
When you say a ton, like it literally was like over 2,000. Right?
I think it was almost 3,000. They said, yeah, for some really stupid stuff. Like my wife said, like, oh, thank goodness you didn't go into this, or that when the Bilo incident, you would have had to go to jail.
Yeah, and that was obviously like one of the things I thought of, because like a big part of this for me, like obviously what the judge did was like totally jacked up, but also like this is a good example of how like a lot of people just shouldn't have kids. All the parents in this movie are bad parents. Without exception. They're all terrible parents. They shouldn't be allowed to have kids. And
I don't think it really got into whether they were good parents or not.
Well, I think that that's one of the my big faults with this documentary is like in depth as they got into like actually interviewing the judges and getting some very candid interviews. I think it kind of looked past that, like, yeah, just because a girl flips her hair at you, you shouldn't beat her up. Like it completely like negates the.
Here, this is what I hate. I hate this in our society that like we have to ruin everyone's life over doing stupid things, especially kids. Kids do stupid stuff. Sending a kid to 4 years of prison for making a website about their teacher, no, you can't tell me that's good for that kid.
No. But my point is not that's the but also there's a problem in not realizing that what you did was bad. Does it deserve the punishment that was given? Not even close.
Well, that's what this movie is about. Is about the punishment they were given. I'll fully agree with you that a lot of parents today are too lax and let their kids get away with whatever. I'm all for discipline, but I'm for discipline that works. Sending a kid to prison for 4 years for making a website about their principal is beyond stupid and shouldn't even be something that someone is allowed to do.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I'm not like the situation where the kid like he bought a dirt bike that was stolen, and like so it just seemed like a misunderstanding. Yeah, some of these scenarios, but the parents are all bad. Don't get me wrong.
Well, I would say that all these kids, they don't really go into it, but you can kind of tell from the houses they're sitting in. I don't think any of these kids were going to Duke or Wake Forest or Harvard or any of those schools. They can't. They're kids of kids could come from poor backgrounds. So yeah, they probably don't have the best parents in the world.
I came from a poor background. Okay. I came from a single parent home. Yeah, I had a brother that could have gotten in some serious trouble over some threats he made to a company he worked for.
Yeah, but, Andy.
But I stayed out of trouble. You know why? Because my mom nagged me to death.
No, this is someone who had to have our next door neighbor save them from getting their butt kicked from rednecks on at least 2 occasions.
Let me finish my thought here. I know you just love to interrupt me. Here's exactly how my relationship with my mom worked, and you have to take an individual relationship with each of your kids and figure out how to make them tick. Okay, my mom nagged me. My mom still nags me. I didn't like it then. I don't like it now. You know what my mom would do if I didn't give her a reason to nag me? She would just go talk on the phone with her sister all night, and I didn't have to be around her. Is that the most motivation I could come up with to stay out of trouble? Yeah, and it's enough. It was good. It worked.
Okay, we're not talking about the movie here, by the way. Like,
oh, you're picking a movie where we're talking about kids going to jail every week. Like, I got to find other stuff to talk about, okay?
Well, this one was interesting because the judge was a part of it. Like, that was.
Are we done with this series of you going through these? Can we take a break?
I hope so. I mean, it is. I agree. I think I even said this in the Central Park 5. It's getting beaten down with, yes, our justice system and our criminal justice system is terrible. We get it. But I thought this was one of the better. I thought this was better than Central Park 5. Even though I thought the guy was scum, and I still think he's scum, he came in and gave his side, and I think part of him really believed a lot of what he was saying, and he did think he was doing some good. I can't. It's hard for me to imagine again that he thought some of the things he was doing was good, but I thought that was an interesting part that he was actually in the documentary.
Yeah, and I thought he was a really fair guy. There were times where he would be like, "Yeah, I don't know if that's the law. I don't know if that's legal or whatever." And I thought, well, like, aren't you the judge? But I guess like they just study up for the trial they're doing or whatever. But just kind of funny. At the end, so the kid that stole the dirt bike, he then got in trouble for credit card fraud, which the way he described it wasn't clear to me whether like his grandparents had given him permission or not. I take it they hadn't.
Sounded like he was on the pot and ran up some charges, and I assume that his grandparents pressed charges against him.
Either way, he gets to wear scrubs every day, and like I'm not cut out for the medical field, but that's always been a dream of mine, just to be able to wear scrubs every day. And let me say this: like the one part the woman that's the son committed suicide. That is the part where I just didn't like this movie anymore. Like that part, like that lady is just out of control, and it was just it's just very. Completely unnecessary what she was doing, and
I thought that was fairly powerful. Is that kid a good kid? No, but again, these kids came from crappy backgrounds and they made mistakes and they're getting their lives ruined over their mistakes. I hate this whole thing that if you make a mistake in this world, we've got to ruin your life for it. We got to send you to jail, or we've got to like shame you on Twitter until you get fired. Like forever. Like there's no like, hey, let's figure out what's going on in your head and work towards solving it. And yeah, sometimes that doesn't work, and then you got to lock people up. But just like first offense, and yeah, that kid had more than a few offenses, but he also became a product of the system. And
his problem was his parents. He had bad parents. You want to debate me on some of the other ones? You probably could make an argument, but his parents were bad parents.
Well, his parents were what most parents are today. That they don't
then don't have kids. Tough nuggets.
Okay, but we don't have to ruin the kid's life because his parents suck.
Well, there was an unfortunate thing that happened. I don't agree with what happened or whatever, but he didn't kill her son.
He's part of a huge problem that ruins people's lives because we have to send them to prison for non-violent offenses. And maybe his offense was violent. I don't remember off the top of my head, but most of these kids had non-violent.
His was a crack pipe planted by his.
Oh yeah,
his dad.
yeah, exactly. So,
which is terrible parenting.
Yes,
like be a parent.
Yeah, I agree. He had bad parents. But it's not his fault. Like he shouldn't have had his life ruined over it to the point he killed himself.
Okay, but don't go to the courthouse and accuse somebody else of murdering your son when you were a bad parent and put them in a bad situation.
All right. Fair. That's not an argument worth having. I get where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree.
All right, and then my last point, and I'll let you go, is at the end, it's like, if you'd like to hear more about these stories, please check us out at, and I'm like thinking, like, what is the website? Like, surely it can't be kidsforcash.com. But it's kidsforcashthemovie.com if you'd like to learn more.
Yeah, I go to Kids for Cash all the time and try to put Gene on there, and no takers.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable like registering that domain, right? Like I figure GoDaddy would like instantly call the cops.
Possibly. I thought this was a really good movie. I thought it was exceptionally well done. I liked how they brought the other guy in. I think that guy is human excrement, but they still kind of humanized him and gave him a fair shot to state his case. And I kind of believe the money part of it. That makes sense. I mean, it wasn't like he was getting $3,000 a kid. He got a lump sum up front. Whether or not he felt consciously or subconsciously the need to do this, I don't know. They kind of point out he was like that before he got the money. So I'm not the money part of it, the Kids for Cash part of it. It was interesting to get his side of it. I kind of even took his side of it. But again, this is a guy who put people in jail for 4 and 5 years for nonviolent offenses. But going to jail for 4 or 5 years is terrible for anyone. It's horrible for a child, and it's heartbreaking. Yeah, they don't have the greatest parents in the world. It's not the kid's fault. He ruined these kids' lives, and now he's going to have to do it. And I thought that part of it was maybe actually one of the best parts of the movie. And he even feels remorseful. I think he kind of understood now that he's going to jail for a long, long time, and the rest of his life is ruined, and he's never going to see that his grandkids grow up. I think he kind of realized what he did was wrong. I don't think he comes out and says it, but there's a scene where he kind of breaks down and he asks for forgiveness.
Yeah, the grandkids thing, you could tell really hit home with him. But, yeah, this was fairly good. Again, I thought it was a little irresponsible in some areas. It's 3 bad parents out of 5 for me.
It's 4 out of 5. This is a really, really quality documentary. It's on Netflix. Even if you're familiar with the story, I would definitely recommend checking it out.
All right, up next in this all Kurtis episode from 2015, directed and starring Captain America himself, Chris Evans, also featuring Alice Eve. It's called Before We Go. I'm going to let you have the floor, Kurtis.
Okay, so I mentioned that I was going to watch this while I was traveling, and I didn't get to. And I have kind of a standing thing when I travel. I travel maybe 10, 12 times a year. I usually try to come back on Thursday. And I like to come home, have a drink, and play Xbox when I get home. Yes, say hi to the family, but after Gene goes to bed and we have dinner and do all that, that's what I like to do. And I couldn't do it because I had to watch this movie. So I think if I had been in a better place, I would have liked this movie a lot more. But instead, I just really wanted it to be over so I could play Assassin's Creed. That said, I don't think it was that bad. I saw it wasn't very well reviewed, but I really think that if I had watched this on a date night with my wife, I would have enjoyed it a lot more, and I didn't think it was bad at all. I just wasn't in a good spot to watch it.
I thought it was a fine attempt, but it did not succeed for me. This was not good. The whole kind of movie is you're getting the truth of this Alice Eve's backstory.
And his
15 minutes. Yeah, but okay. But you're getting it like 15 minutes. Like you're getting a nugget here, a nugget there, a nugget there. And that part somewhat kept me interested, but I just never got into these characters. I don't feel like they did enough to establish them and make them likable. It didn't work for me, and I thought this was pretty painful to watch. I wish you had watched it in a good headspace so that I could know if you liked it. But there's really nothing here. It wasn't fun. It wasn't interesting. I liked the attempt at the if I had liked the characters, if I could have gotten into the characters, the way they were revealing the story probably would have worked. Because that's kind of neat to do. You don't necessarily see it like that all the time. You'll usually either kind of get the backstory at the beginning or the backstory at the end. This gives it to you slowly, and it could have been fun, but just didn't really work for me.
I thought, I won't say I loved these characters. I thought they were good enough, and I thought they were honest. I think credit goes to the writer, and I don't think Chris Evans wrote this, he just directed it, but I thought it was like a well-written story where things felt honest and real, from how they ran into this situation where they can't call anyone and they don't have enough money. Like it kind of explained that, and everyone always makes that thing like all the movies and TV shows from the 80s and 90s their plots are rendered useless by cell phones, and they kind of had to go through that in here, but they said this and did that, and it made sense. And I thought the characters were honest too. Normally I'm not a big fan of characters who are cheaters, and you could go either way kind of on that. And here I don't want to spoil too much, but I felt their relationship was kind of real and honest, and it was interesting. It wasn't cliche. It's not something we've seen 100 times. They had a little interesting relationship there. And the nuggets were nice, but sometimes in between the nuggets, I got a little bored.
Yeah. Like 11 years ago, we all met at your house, and we were playing basketball, and like a cup of water got knocked on my cell phone, and I was driving home without it. And, I was like 19 at the time. And I was driving one of these cars that was really weird. I didn't know about this. You have to put oil in it ever so often. And and so, like, I threw a rod in my engine because I hadn't put oil in it. And I was stuck on the side of the road in Atlanta on the interstate. And I started walking. And it's nighttime at this point. It's dark outside. And this guy pulls up in a truck. And he's like, "Hey, you want to ride?" And I look in, and he's like in a T-ball uniform, and like he's got in the passenger seat like Coach of the Year or something like. It just seemed like such a sting. Like he was just like, But I didn't want to walk, so I took my chances. It worked out. It was weird, but it could have gone bad. Like that seemed weird. But anyways, I don't have a ton to say about this movie. It is on Netflix. Got to watch it for free, so. If you like bad movies, I don't know, maybe it works for a date night. I don't really think so, but Kurtis seems to think so. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, us grandfathered Netflixers are getting jacked up to $9.99 a month. So I think if you want a date night movie and you're up on Daredevil season 2 and you already knocked out a couple episodes of MacGyver, go ahead and check this out. Again, probably as a date night type movie.
1 Captain Kirk out of 5.
3 out of 5. Again, I think I would actually like this a lot more if I had been in the right headspace. I was actually surprised by what I got out of it, considering I didn't really want to watch it.
How's Daredevil season 2 going?
I haven't started yet. I just got back from my trip. I'm starting it this week.
Yeah, but you could have downloaded it all with Play On.
I have to watch it with my wife.
What?
Yes,
What?
Yes.
She likes something that's good all of a sudden?
She loved Daredevil and Jessica Jones.
Just put on Harry Potter and go watch it by yourself. She hasn't seen those enough.
We have to.
All right.
We have to watch it together. We're starting this week.
All right. From 2016 in theaters now. Directed by John Mark Vallée. Starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Naomi Watts, Chris Cooper's in there. Movie also picked by Kurtis called Demolition. There's another one of these new releases that doesn't have a ton of showtimes, even in a major city. This one had more than The Bronze, but struggle a little bit to see it. And this, Kurtis picked this movie, but I'd seen the trailer and I wanted to see this movie for sure. I don't think did we do the trailer?
I don't think we did. I remember seeing it and then recommending we do it because there was nothing on the schedule for this week, and I liked the trailer.
Did you like the movie?
Yeah, I did like it.
No way.
Yeah, I did.
This movie was terrible.
No, I liked it.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not gonna. I could get that, and I think it's like right around 50 or 60%, and I can understand not liking it. I actually really enjoyed it. I don't even want to say enjoy. Enjoy is the wrong word. It's not. I'm not gonna say this is like the funnest movie to sit through. It's not like that. It's a super sad or painful movie like Room or something.
Was it because you were like, in a terrible marriage for a year? I mean, and this guy was kind of in a terrible marriage.
No, I don't think it was so much that. I think I can sympathize with being a cold, heartless bastard and learning to become human.
That's a good point. Kurtis he did transform into a human at some point. I
still have a ways to go, but
he he accepts social protocol in a lot of areas, and it's been weird to see that happen to him. But yeah, this movie, it's kind of all over the place. I never got the real point of it. It seemed like any kind of time it was going to go down a fun road, it kind of instantly ruined it.
I thought that was part of its charm. I totally agree with what you said. It was all over the place. But that was part of like the ride. It was like Jake Gyllenhaal, I thought was very, very good in this. I'm not going to say it was Oscar worthy or anything like that. I thought he was very, very good. And he's playing this character that I just was really into and really interested in. He's this, just kind of emotionless guy who can turn it on when he needs to in the boardroom or in front of clients or on the phone. But at home, he's just really kind of this closed off guy. And he actually had to like go crazy and have these horrible things happen to him just to like learn how to feel and be human. But
do you think you got even enough of the redemption there? Like, I feel like as soon as they got to the redemption, they just called it a day.
I would agree it ended a little bit abruptly. I would have liked to see maybe a montage of him building that carousel after all the demolition to see him build something. I mean, it's kind of implied, obviously, that it's not it is implied, but it's obvious.
Maybe they just paid someone to do it.
Okay,
I don't know.
But whether you did it with your hands or you paid someone, you still built something.
Well, it's not the same because he was tearing things apart with his hands.
All right,
the whole
fair
time.
enough.
He wasn't throwing money at stuff. He threw money at the foreman. But other than that,
I agree with you. I did think it kind of ended abruptly, and I would have liked to seen a little bit more there.
I was ready for it to be over because I just wasn't into the movie. One of the guys in the theater thought it was hilarious. It was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. But
it was there were some funny parts, but it wasn't a very funny movie. It just really, I thought it had a lot to say about who's crazy and who's not, the different ways people deal with loss, which is a big thing to me. I always hate that everyone thinks everyone has to deal with tragedy the same way, that you can't have a sense of humor about it, or you can't be super sad about it. People deal with those things different ways.
Or you can't be one way a day and one way the next day.
Exactly. Like, I hate that, like, the way people deal with tragedy is sometimes found offensive by other people dealing with, or who aren't even dealing with the tragedy, but another topic for another day. This guy had a horrible thing happen to him, and he didn't really feel anything from it. He felt bad for not really feeling anything from it, and his journey was interesting to me. Was it Fast and the Furious 7? No, there wasn't a ton of action.
Was it Daddy's Home?
It was better than Daddy's Home.
Really? I love Daddy's Home. Yeah. That's like you redid your list of best movies of 2015, right?
That's not true. Yeah. It was a solid 3 out of 5.
Hey, I do want to thank all the fans that wrote in and told me I wasn't crazy for being the only one that hated that movie. So
they didn't watch it.
Lucky them. Good.
Okay, but I don't want to get off topic, but maybe are these the same people who think stupid shirtless Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights and Blades of Steel is hilarious?
Blades of Glory.
Whatever.
I don't know. I didn't check their background on Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell has been funny in the past. He just wasn't. Hey, I got this great idea. Like, we're going to get Will Ferrell drunk and he's going to throw a basketball at somebody's head. It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, that part
it's just
wasn't
the
that funny.
It's
All
the
right.
cheapest, like, Three Stooges bull crap.
It had some sweet moments, and it was just Will Ferrell can be funny when he's not playing an idiot with his shirt off. In this case, he was just playing a kind of I don't know, wimp with his shirt off. Whatever. I thought you were talking about Demolition, which was a really solid movie that I would recommend people check out.
What you're saying to me is that, like, the title is, like, kind of, obviously it has to do with the story, but also it's the story itself is just a wrecking ball, like, just going everywhere, just whatever it wants to do. We're gonna bring up this interesting point that his wife was pregnant, and then we're just gonna completely ruin it, and I don't know, didn't work for me. But yeah, I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was okay in it.
It did work for me. I had the exact same thought that it was kind of all over the place and maybe took on a lot of different things as far as who you are and some of the other stuff we talked about. But for me, that was part of the journey because, like, this was supposed to be crazy. I mean, that's Crazy on You or whatever that Heart song is, right? So it's in the it was a crazy ride, but it's one that I'm glad I sat through and might even sit through it again sometime. Not next week, but
Oh, one other thing before we get on to our watch it, rent it, forget it. Actually, let's write this real quick. 2 Bubble Boys out of 5.
4 out of 5.
That's crazy.
No.
I said last week that People vs. O.J. Simpson was only 9 episodes. That's what I was led to believe. It's actually 10. I have watched all 10. Great show, but I think they should have ended at 9. I think they ended at 9. I mean, because everyone knows what happens in 10. I mean, they did it really well, but like everyone already knows. So there you go. Okay, let's get into our trailer for this week. A movie called Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Originally, they were going to call these a Star Wars anthology. I like that title better.
A Star Wars Story sounds dumb.
Sounds really kiddie to me.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like the subtitle to a kid's book.
Yeah, but whatever. Let's talk about the movie here. Or the trailer. This for me has to be a rent it, just because like I'm not a fan of these movies where there's 3 movies now there's 4 movies after this. Like
you always run the risk there of
right. So I felt like they needed to sell me in the trailer that there were going to be some other consequences that I could get behind, other than them having to retrieve the plans for the Death Star. And I don't feel like they did that. The movie looks amazing, like visually looks amazing.
Well, they did some Star Wars prequels one time. I don't know if you ever watched them, but they weren't very good.
I did, and I got crap for giving them a 2, I think. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, those movies are awful. I'm between Rent It and Forget It. I'm going to go Forget It because I had to rewatch this trailer again before I completely forgot it from watching it earlier today. And maybe it's going to be good, and obviously we're going to go see it, but based on the trailer, if you take Star Wars out of this, whereas Episode 7, especially with that second trailer, kind of came back and said, look, we're back to Star Wars. And, some people would argue we went back too much to Star Wars. That was the main complaint of people who didn't like Episode 7. This just looked like a movie we've seen 50 times set in Star Wars, where here's the bad person. They're even going through the resume there like they do, going through all the bad things they did. And then they're going to be redeemed. I mean, we've seen that this movie tons and tons of times, right? But except it's set in Star Wars universe. So
yeah.
So is it going to be good? I don't know. It could be. Just because we've seen that movie before doesn't mean it's not going to be good. But this trailer did nothing for me other than say, hey, here's a movie you've seen a bunch of times set in the Star Wars universe. So
didn't do a lot for me either, but visually looked good.
Yeah, I guess I'm still going to go Forget It.
Okay. All right. So Kurtis has something he wants to talk about. So I'm gonna give Kurtis the floor again.
Okay. It can be a Tony's tantrum if you want, but we've actually talked about this before. But like I said, I had to travel this week, and it's spring break, and I was traveling to West Palm Beach for work. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. I just want to use a few minutes here to do this public service announcement. Learn to airport, people. Learn to airport. There was just so many people there who don't know how to airport.
Weird, right?
I swear,
Get it.
the next time I see someone take more than 5 minutes to check a bag, I'm going up there and asking them what's taking so long. Not to be rude, because I gotta know. I check my bag 20 or 30 times a year, and it's never taken me more than 2 minutes. I put the bag on the thing. They ask for my ID and my ticket. I give it to them. They say thank you, and they hand it back, and they ask me where my final destination is. That's it. It usually takes a minute. Why are people
It's one of these things where, like, were you surprised that this happened? It happens at the ticket counter at the movies every week. I get behind someone that doesn't have their debit card out. Like,
I don't get it.
You want to tell them what you're doing and then get like, no, you know how this works, dog. You know how to check okay, maybe it's your first time flying, but that's not the case for everyone, and you see this kind of stuff way too often. You see people who wait out in the waiting area for 45 minutes, and then when they get on the plane 13 seconds later, they've got to get stuff out of their bags, and they're blocking the aisle, and they can't get it. Like,
we left 30 minutes late. 30 minutes late because these idiots can't get on the plane. Get on the plane. Move with a sense of urgency. Put your bag in the overhead. Stop taking things out of it. Already have them out.
Right. I want my iPad when I'm on the plane, so I have it in my hand. I have my bag in my other hand, and I either throw my bag in a bin or I throw it under my chair, and I sit down and I get out of other people's ways because it's a cramped area, and it's not my world that we're just all and you're all living in it. This is a world we share. That means you have common decency. You show empathy. You show respect. This is, I got to say great things about Denver. Everyone's super nice here, but something I just can't get it. And I know Kurtis, he doesn't feel comfortable with this either. People like walking across the street in a crosswalk when you're trying to get by, just taking their sweet old time. Like, hey, I'm just trying to get across the street.
I try to let people go. I try to wave the cars in front.
Yeah.
Go.
I hate when someone holds the door open for me when I'm
just
5
close
steps
it.
away.
I can hold my own door. Let me walk at my own leisure. If you open it for me, now I have to hurry up because I actually care about your time for some reason.
Right.
No one cares about mine.
I would rather waste 2 hours of my time than 20 seconds of yours. And
the airport is just that magnified over and over again. It's at the ticketing. It's at the bag check. It's going through security. I got the TSA pre-check to go through security faster, and there's idiots who had the TSA pre-check, and they're still taking their laptops out of the bag, and they're taking their shoes off, and they're taking their stuff off, and they're taking out... No, that's why you get the TSA pre-check. Why did you get it if you're just going to take all your stuff off anyway? And they're taking forever, and then they can't get on the plane, and then they're on the plane in an aisle that's barely big enough for some people, or normal person to fit in, and they're reaching down and taking stuff out of their bag before they put it up. I'm sitting there behind them. I check my bag usually, but I'm sitting there with my carry-on, which is usually my laptop bag, and I've already taken out of it what I need for the flight, which is usually my Kindle and my 3DS and my headphones. I've got them ready to go. I'm just waiting to get in my seat. I sit down immediately. I put that stuff in the pocket. I slide my bag under, and everyone can go about their business. It takes me like 15 seconds. Why are you taking 2 minutes to put your bag in the overhead? There's 50 people behind you who need to get on the plane. Some of us have places to be. Why are we leaving 30 minutes late because none of you people know how to airport? Learn how to airport, people. But in general, like Tony said, just stop and think. Am I holding someone else up here? If you're 90 years old and you can't get around, that's one thing. If you're in a wheelchair, I understand. If you have to be wheeled around in an iron lung, okay, maybe you're going to slow me down a little bit. If you're a normal, able-bodied person, just move a little faster so that other people can get where they're going or get out of the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's really simple. It really is a simple way to live your life.
It's very simple.
It's just called being courteous. There you go. Again, single parent, poor, and I get it. So there you go. Those people in that movie had terrible parents. And next week, Curtis has picked the majority of the movies again. We'll get to that in a second. Midweek this week, me and superfan Kyle are going to be taking a look at the 2 SpongeBob SquarePants movies, which I've never seen any SpongeBob. So I guess we'll see how that goes. And then next weekend, what are we going to be reviewing, Curtis?
Jungle Book.
Jungle Book.
Which, I guess, are there 2 Jungle Book movies? Because one of them got delayed.
Yeah, the Andy Serkis one by Warner Brothers got moved back to 2017, I think, which is fine. He wants it to be, really ambitious. I think that's probably actually a good thing. His is going to be more visual, whereas this one has the license to the songs and stuff. So,
okay.
I think that probably works out.
We're also reviewing Bone Tomahawk, which you can watch on Amazon Prime, and Instructions Not Included, which is on Netflix. So
which one of these is about kids getting?
Well, I haven't seen any of the 3, so I can't promise you that none of them are about.
I don't think there's any parents in Jungle Book, so
maybe at the front. I think there's some at the end. Maybe, I don't know. It's been a long time since I saw it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen the cartoon in a while, but it is directed by Jon Favreau, so I'm pretty excited. 100% so far on Rotten Tomatoes. Lots of good things are being said, so I'm excited to go see that. But until then, gotta go, son.
Pay attention.